My name is Anna. 2 years ago, my husband Max and I decided to leave the busy city behind and move to a small, quiet village. We both dreamed of a simpler life, closer to nature. The village is surrounded by a peaceful forest, a flowing river, and fresh air that feels like a gift every morning. It's the perfect place to live, and we couldn't have been happier. Max and I envisioned starting a family here, raising our kids in a place where they could play freely, explore nature, and grow up surrounded by peace. It felt like a fresh chapter in our lives, one filled with hope and happiness. Shortly after we settled in, we met our neighbors, John and Lisa. They lived just a short walk down the road in a cozy house similar to ours. John and Lisa were about the same age as Max and me, and like us, they didn't have children yet. They welcomed us warmly, and it didn't take long for us to become friends. We started spending time together, going on picnics, exploring the forest, and sometimes even gathering mushrooms. It felt good to have friends so quickly in a new place. John, however, worked in a job that required him to travel frequently. He would often be away for weeks or even months at a time, leaving Lisa alone. She would sometimes come by to chat or join us for tea, and I could tell she felt lonely. When she started asking Max and me for small favors, like fixing a leaking tap or helping her carry something heavy, we were more than happy to help. After all, it's what good neighbors do. At first, everything seemed perfectly normal. Lisa was friendly, cheerful, and always grateful for the help. Max, being the kind and helpful person he is, never hesitated to lend a hand, but as time went on, I started noticing small changes that made me feel uneasy. Lisa began asking Max for help more often, far more than she asked me. She'd call him over to fix something in her house, help her with the garden, or carry things she could have easily managed herself. While it seemed innocent at first, her behavior started to feel deliberate. She'd make casual excuses to keep him around longer, offering him tea or engaging him in long conversations. I also noticed a shift in her appearance. Lisa, who used to dress casually in simple house clothes, suddenly started wearing more flattering, fancy outfits whenever Max was around. She'd put on makeup, style her hair, and wear dresses that seemed out of place for someone working in the garden or cleaning the house. Her smiles toward Max weren't just friendly. They carried a certain boldness that made me uncomfortable. Max didn't seem to notice anything unusual. To him, he was just helping a neighbor who needed assistance. But as his visits to Lisa's house became more frequent and longer, I couldn't ignore the growing unease in my heart. One evening after Max came home later than usual, I decided to ask him directly, "Max, why do you spend so much time with Lisa?" I tried to keep my voice calm, but I could feel the tension building inside me. Max looked surprised. "I'm just helping her out," he replied. "She's on her own because John's away and she needs help." I nodded, pretending to accept his answer, but deep down my doubts only grew. From that point on, I began paying closer attention. Whenever Max went over to Lisa's house, I'd find excuses to stop by as well. Sometimes I'd bring over cookies or ask if she needed help with anything. Lisa always acted cheerful and polite, but I couldn't ignore the way she looked at Max. Her eyes seemed to linger on him, her smiles too warm. I started questioning myself. Was I overreacting? Was I letting my imagination run wild? But something in my gut told me I wasn't wrong. One day Max came home later than usual again. When I asked where he'd been, he said he was helping Lisa fix her car. "It took longer than I expected," he explained, but his explanation didn't comfort me. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the situation in my mind, imagining scenarios where Lisa might be trying to come between us. The tension reached a breaking point when I saw them together one afternoon. Max and Lisa were standing in her garden, talking and laughing. They stood closer than I thought was necessary, and Lisa's laugh sounded far too flirtatious. My heart raced as I watched them from my window. I couldn't take it anymore. I walked outside and called out to them. "What's going on here? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Lisa turned to me with her ever so sweet smile. Oh, Anna, we were just talking about the garden, she said casually. Max looked uncomfortable, almost guilty, but said nothing. That evening, I finally told Max how I felt. I don't like the way Lisa behaves around you, I said, and I don't like how much time you spend with her. Max listened quietly, then apologized. I'm sorry, Anna. I didn't realize this was bothering you so much. I'll be more careful, he promised. True to his word, Max started distancing himself from Lisa. He stopped going over to her house as often and spent more time with me. I felt a bit of relief, but I couldn't fully let my guard down. Lisa, however, wasn't ready to give up so easily. One day, she showed up at our house with a freshly baked cake. Hi, Anna, she said with her signature smile. I made this for you and Max. I hope you like it. I forced a polite smile and thanked her, but my unease grew when she asked, Is Max home? She glanced around as if looking for him. Yes, but he's busy right now, I replied firmly. Lisa's smile faltered, but she quickly recovered. Oh well, let me know if you need anything, she said before leaving. Later that evening, I told Max about Lisa's visit. He laughed and said, She's probably just being friendly. You don't need to worry. But I couldn't shake the feeling that Lisa's intentions weren't innocent. The weeks that followed were a mix of tension and relief. Lisa started coming around less often, and Max and I focused on our relationship. We spent more time together, taking long walks, working on the garden, and talking about our plans for the future. I started to feel like things were returning to normal. But one afternoon, I ran into Lisa at the local store. She approached me with a sly smile. You know, Anna, she began, your husband is such a helpful man. I don't know what I'd do without him. Her words felt like a subtle jab, but I forced a polite smile. Yes, he's a good man, I replied. Lisa leaned in slightly and added, He's more than just good, isn't he? You're very lucky to have him. Her tone made my skin crawl. I didn't respond, and instead excused myself, but her words lingered in my mind. Thankfully, shortly after that encounter, John returned home. I felt an enormous sense of relief, hoping Lisa would focus on her husband now that he was back. As I had hoped, Lisa stopped asking Max for help, and her visits became less frequent. A few months later, John got a new job in the city, and they moved away. When they left, it felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Life in the village returned to its peaceful rhythm. Max and I grew closer than ever, spending our days enjoying the simplicity of our new life. We talked more seriously about starting a family, and for the first time in a while, I felt truly happy again. Looking back, I realized how important trust and communication are in a relationship. Although there were moments of doubt and fear, Max and I faced the challenge together and came out stronger. Lisa was just a small chapter in our story, but the lessons we learned from the experience will stay with us forever. No matter what life throws our way, I know Max and I can handle it as long as we stand together. The end. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share.